It's a group of people saying, let's band together and let's punch back.
Yeah, well,
against the system. Let's
punch
these guys
for sure.
back.
And it wasn't just like us, it wasn't like 10 people trying to pump it up. It was like it became a frenzy.
Well, you're talking 6 million people paying attention to this just on one subreddit.
Yeah, and so we're not saying all those people were like posting, but they got the fever.
They're looking.
They got the fever. So they started going to buy GameStop like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they bought so much GameStop that they forced Robinhood to stop trading. So in the middle of this process of GameStop going sky high and the shorts just taking it, like getting a beating, there is this halting of the trading.
And they did that with Citadel. Citadel is the person like that. It's a clearinghouse, I think, that I'm pretty, we could be off on this, but Citadel's involved there with Robinhood and why they stopped. And they got very suspicious.
So probably Citadel's friends were losing, and there was reasons for them to start asking for the money. But there's a lot of I don't want to speculate too far on things I don't have a lot of depth in. But there's a requirement that the exposure of the company like Robinhood has to be covered at the clearinghouse while it's in process.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Robinhood can't settle what's in process, they can't add more once they reach their limit without putting more money in.
And they only have so much money.
They only have so much money. And so they had a big growth in users who came from this big growth in Wall Street Bets subgroup. And they all wanted to go after the same asset or same assets. There's actually 25 assets that pumped at this time because the thesis wasn't about GameStop. The thesis was about short squeezes and about deep assets and whether or not companies that were shorting in a way that was manipulative or whether it was a legit gamble.
Right.
And those, there's a perception that people that short are betting on the closure or the loss of jobs or whatever it is. So the negativity.
Yep.
And so the common person who might have that job has a negative view of the people who short. Right. Because that might be my job next week. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there became this kind of, we're going to use Robinhood, the app that's supposed to help the people take from the rich and give to the poor. And we're going to use that to take from the rich and give to the poor by pumping the price of the stock and burning down these hedge funds.
Right.
Well, I think it was 3 or 4 hedge funds that are kind of buddy. Even though they're all cutthroat, they're still buddies. They go to lunch together. Eat at a nice restaurant.
They know each other.
They all start taking it hard in the shorts. Well, next thing you know, Citadel's stopping the trading. These guys are repositioning to get their butts out. But one of those, Melbourne Capital, lost 49% that night.
They got taken out. Eventually.
They closed
22.
I think it took a year overall, but they essentially closed within a few months. That people realized that, that's those guys.
Right.
They are not smart. We don't put our money there. They lost half in a day. What would they do with my money? I'm not going to touch them, kind of a thing, right? They became pariah. Even though they covered their loss by borrowing money and all of that. They didn't have the capital to do it. They had to borrow from another hedge fund.
Yeah.
And that's like, imagine going to your golf buddies and razzing each other about how much money you make at your CEO job and my CIO job and whatever. And then having to go with your hat in your hand and say, dude, I need to borrow money on my house. There's a call on the loan for my house. I need like X million dollars.
Yeah, but imagine that's $40 billion.
Yeah.
The only, after that job, the only thing you can do is become an economic advisor for the government. Right. Then you're highly qualified to tell us how to live our lives.
Yeah, I got to think that
he didn't disappear.
If you take that kind of a haircut, it's going to be remembered.
Oh, it will be remembered. Well, Larry Fink with BlackRock originally years ago took a really crazy bet, and I don't know the technicalities of it, but he took a crazy bet on something and it wrecked it.
Okay.
So that's why people are like, anyway, that's a whole another story. How high did GameStop get during this frenzy? It started, we were on the $17 range, right? When it started?
Yeah. So like the second, third week of January, something like that, it was 17 and a quarter.
Okay.
It peaked over 500. It was $504 and it went up. It went that high within 48 hours.
Boy, those short squeeze guys. Some guy was sitting in his Ferrari shitting his pants.
That's a squeeze.
Yeah, that's a squeeze.
Talk about diamond hands, man. That is a squeeze.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you imagine while it's still going up, you're looking at it and you're at, $400, 420, 440, 460, 480. You're just watching it go up and like you can't get out.
Right, because it's timed. They're short.
You need more money than you have
right.
to available to you to get out. That means
Yeah.
you have to go sell something else to get the liquidity to be able to get out of this thing. And this thing is going faster than anything else you've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah, that's got to be very depressing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure this is the kind of thing that led people to jump out of windows in 1929.
Probably.
Right? When they watched it fall faster than they could get out, they lost everything. I'm a destitute man with all these bills. I have nothing to live for, and they jump out the window.
Right.
I don't advocate anything like that. I think there's more to life than money, but I can see what happened. Mm-hmm. It's not that hard to understand it. There's a inconsolable loss.
And when this happened with GameStop, it didn't just affect these stocks. It affected crypto. It affected, you were saying, the metals markets. Right. Yeah. There was a ripple effect on a lot of different things.
Yeah. Well, and like if you go to Wikipedia, you can go look them up. You do GameStop short squeeze, and that'll tell you the story in detail and give you references and links and stuff.
Right.
You can go and run down there. They'll give you the list of companies that took the ride, that were on short squeeze.